Dusty and the Midnight Coyote. Once upon a time, in a quiet corner of the Wild West, where the stars shined like lanterns and the wind whispered through the canyons, there lived a young cowboy named Dusty Buckle. Dusty wasn't the fastest rider or the toughest rancher, but he had the biggest heart this side of the Mississippi. Every morning, he'd wake up with the sun, brush down his horse, Maple, and whistle his way to the creek. He'd help old Miss Jenny fix her fence or chase runaway chickens for Farmer Ted. But one thing Dusty loved most was the night, because at night, when the desert cooled and the coyotes began to sing, Dusty would climb the hill behind his cabin, lay back on his blanket, and count stars until sleep carried him away. Part 2. A howl in the dark one night. Just as Dusty was drifting off beneath the moonlight, he heard something strange, a long, low howl, followed by the sound of tiny footsteps. He sat up and listened. "That ain't no regular coyote," he whispered, and sure enough, out from behind a sagebrush came the smallest, fluffiest little coyote pup he'd ever seen. The pup looked lost, ears drooped, tail dragging behind him. Dusty slowly held out his hand. "Easy now, partner, I won't hurt ya." The pup sniffed his glove, then wagged his tail. Part 3. A midnight adventure. Dusty named him Whiskers, on account of the extra long whiskers above his nose. But something about Whiskers wasn't quite right. He kept looking at the moon, then back at Dusty, as if trying to say, "I need help." Dusty nodded. "You got someone out there." So that to set off into the desert, Dusty on Maple, and Whiskers trotting alongside. They followed coyote tracks across silver-lit rocks, through dry riverbeds, and under sleepy owl-filled trees. Part 4. The Canyon of Echoes. After an hour of riding, they reached a place Dusty had only heard about in stories, the Canyon of Echoes, where sounds bounced for miles and spirits were said to whisper. Whiskers let out a loud howl, and from deep inside the canyon came a soft reply. Another coyote. But something was wrong. The echo wasn't from a pup. It was from a full-grown coyote, and it sounded hurt. Dusty lit his lantern and climbed down on foot. There, tangled in an old wire fence, was Whiskers' mother, eyes full of fear, paw caught tight. Part 5. A cowboy's kindness. Without hesitating, Dusty knelt down and whispered softly, "It's okay, girl, I'm here to help." He slowly cut the wire, freeing her paw. She didn't growl, didn't run, just looked at Dusty, then nuzzled her pup close. For a long moment, the three of them stood under the stars, a cowboy, a coyote pup, and a mother reunited. Dusty smiled. "Time to get you to home." Part 6. Riding home under moonlight. As dawn began to color the sky in shades of gold and purple, Dusty rode back to his cabin, this time alone. He watched as Whiskers and his mother disappeared into the hills, their howls fading into the wind like a lullaby. Dusty didn't feel sad. He felt full, like he'd done something good, something right. Part 7. The legend grows. They say if you climb that same hill behind Dusty's cabin today, and the moon is full, you might still hear a gentle howl echoing through the night. And if you're real quiet, you might just hear the voice of a cowboy saying, "Sleep well, partner. Tomorrow's another ride." And with that, Dusty hung up his hat, curled under his blanket, and let the sounds of the desert carry him into dreams. Good night, little rider. Sleep tight. Part 8. The sheriff's offer. When Dusty got back to town the next day, folks had already heard whispers of what happened out near the Canyon of Echoes. The sheriff, a wide-bellied man with sharp eyes, called Dusty into his office. "Word is, you helped a wild coyote. Not many would take that risk out there, boy." Dusty just shrugged and tipped his hat. "I don't see animals or people. I just see someone in need." The sheriff leaned back, smiling. "That kind of thinking is rare in these parts, Dusty. Ever think about becoming a deputy?" Dusty shook his head gently. "I'm no lawman. I just tried to leave things better than I found 'em." Part 9. Trouble rolls in. A few nights later, trouble came riding in on 3 black horses. Outlaws from the north, real mean types, loud, drunk, and looking for easy money. They barged into the saloon, flipped tables, and laughed as folks scattered. Dusty watched quietly from his usual corner. He didn't reach for his gun, not yet. The bartender, old Joe, gave Dusty a glance. Not a word passed, but everything was said. Dusty stood, walked slowly to the middle of the room, and said, "You boys look lost." The outlaws turned, sneering, and just like that, the saloon went silent. Part 10. The silent standoff. There was no shouting, no threats, just the kind of stillness that makes even dust hold its breath. Dusty's hand hovered near his belt. One of the outlaws twitched. A finger flinched toward a holster, but Dusty didn't draw first. He didn't have to. A single sound from outside broke the tension. The distant howl of a coyote. Strangely, the outlaws froze, as if that sound reminded them of something darker than bullets. They backed off, mumbled curses, and rode out before sunrise. No shots fired, no blood spilled, just Dusty, standing tall. Part 11. Maple's secret path. Later that week, Dusty saddled up Maple and rode west. No reason, just a feeling. Maple, clever as ever, veered off the usual trail and took a narrow path through the red rocks. Dusty followed without question. At the end of the path was a hidden valley, untouched by fences, full of wildflowers and clean water. And there, under a tall pine, sat Whiskers. But he wasn't alone. A whole pack of coyotes watched from the ridge, calm and curious. Dusty sat with them for hours, saying nothing, just breathing the same air. Somehow, in that quiet place, the world made sense again. Part 12. Dusty's promise. On his ride home, Dusty thought about everything. The pup, the outlaw standoff, the sheriff's offer, the hidden valley. The West was changing. Railroads coming, towns growing, more fences every year. But Dusty made a promise that night. He'd stay true to what mattered. He'd help when he could, speak when needed, ride when the time was right, and protect the wild parts of the world that still had magic in them. Because some cowboys chased glory, others chased gold. But Dusty buckled. He just chased peace. And in the end, maybe that's what made him a legend.